You hit 62, working longer ain't worth it, and you're ready to clock out for good. But Medicare doesn't start until 65, and COBRA coverage costs more than your first car. What? Hi, I'm Phillip Smith, financial planner with Tidepool Wealth Strategies, helping people who are about to retire step into retirement with clarity, confidence, and tax-efficient income that's meant to last. Welcome to the perfect retirement plan. Retiring before Medicare kicks in can feel like a math problem with too many variables. Healthcare costs, taxes, income sources, and the fear of outliving savings. But with smart planning, it's possible to retire early, stay covered, and make your dollars stretch farther. Today, we're going to unpack the key strategies that can help you confidently retire before 65. Here's the plan. We'll start with why retiring before Medicare matters so much financially, then move on to how your retirement money buckets, pre-tax money, Roth money, and taxable money, can work together. We'll explore ACA subsidies, the power of Roth withdrawals, and how COBRA can fit in. From there, we'll talk about timing your Social Security, tackling debt, and wrapping up with what to do before the finish line. Now, let's start with the challenge most people underestimate. For most Americans, age 65 is sort of this finish line. Medicare starts and Social Security might already be rolling in. But if you want to retire at 60, 62, or even earlier, you're left staring at a 3 to 5 year healthcare gap that can cost $15,000 to $25,000 a year for couples. Yes, $15,000 to $25,000 a year. Add in taxes, and it's easy to drain savings faster than expected. Here's the key. It's not just how much you've saved, but how you draw that savings down. Every dollar from a pre-tax account like a 401k or a traditional IRA is going to be taxable. And that can bump you into higher brackets, shrink your ACA subsidies, and increase Medicare premiums later. Managing your income is the real name of the game. Let's talk about these buckets everyone mentions, but rarely takes the time to explain. Your pre-tax accounts like IRAs and 401ks are the workhorses while you're saving. They lower your taxable income now, which feels great during those peak earning years, but in retirement, they come with a price tag. Every withdrawal counts as income, which can shrink the potential for ACA subsidies or push you toward or into and through IRMA brackets later. So they're powerful, but not super flexible, depending on your income needs. Roth accounts, on the other hand, are sort of the unsung heroes. Unsung, yet everybody is talking about them. Sure, you don't get a tax break when you're contributing, and that can sting when you're in your top earning years. But come retirement, qualified withdrawals are tax-free and don't touch your modified adjusted gross income, or MAGI. That makes Roth money the MVP of early retirement. It lets you live well without wrecking your subsidy eligibility or climbing tax brackets. And then there's your taxable account, also known as a non-qualified account, your joint account, your individual account. Think brokerage accounts or savings accounts. It's the most flexible of the three tax buckets or three types of tax impacted money. You're only taxed on interest, dividends, or gains when you sell. You can pick which lots, if you purchased in lots over time. We can talk about lots if you want to. I won't get into too much detail, but you can choose which specific lots to sell. You can time your gains and or your losses, and you control how much shows up on your tax return to some extent. It's like your financial shock absorber. It's ready for the bumps in the road. Again, to some extent, depending on how your portfolio is set up. When you blend these buckets the right way, or what I would call sort of the optimal way, using Roth and taxable relatively early, sprinkling in some small pre-tax withdrawals, you stay sort of subsidy-friendly and still chip away at your future required minimum distributions. And so these are topics that I've talked about in other episodes. If you go all pre-tax, you risk losing those subsidies that you might qualify for. If you go all Roth and you miss some bracket filling opportunities, well, find yourself out of balance later on in retirement. Balance is going to win every time. Now, I've mentioned ACA subsidies multiple times without really talking about what I'm referring to because I did want to get to that point. So let's wade into one of the most misunderstood topics that's out there, the ACA, or Affordable Care Act, sometimes referred to as Obamacare. The Affordable Care Act offers health insurance subsidies through what's called the Premium Tax Credit, or PTC. It's based on your Modified Adjusted Gross Income, MAGI, and your household size. So MAGI starts with your adjusted gross income and adds a few line items like tax-exempt bond interest back into that income. But here's the golden ticket. Roth IRA withdrawals don't count towards MAGI. Here's how it plays out in the real world. You buy a plan on your state exchange or on healthcare.gov. Plans come in those metal tiers that hopefully we've all become familiar with: bronze, silver, gold. The silver tier can come with extra benefits called cost sharing reductions if your MAGI lands in the right range. The lower your MAGI, the lower the premiums. The higher your MAGI, the more you're going to pay out of pocket. There isn't one sharp cliff, it's a sliding scale, and it does matter. Now, let's talk about COBRA for a second, because it always shows up in this conversation. When you retire, COBRA usually kicks in right after your employer coverage ends, often the next month. It lets you keep the same plan that you had with your employer for up to 18 months. But now you're paying both your part and your employer's portion. It can be pretty pricey, but sometimes it's necessary if you're mid-treatment or managing chronic care. You just have a lot of ongoing medical expenses that were being covered right before you left your employer. So COBRA affects ACA subsidies because it's considered qualifying coverage. You do have an option to choose ACA coverage instead, but you've got a 60-day window to do it. If you wait until COBRA ends, typically 18 months later, you get another 60 days. The key is knowing the cost difference. COBRA is convenient because it's right there, but rarely is it cost effective. ACA plans, when structured around your income, can be potentially dramatically cheaper. Here's what I'll call the double bear trap. By your right foot, subsidies are calculated on your total tax year income, not your retirement month. Retire in October and live on Roth money for 3 months, and you still have 9 months of salary counted in that modified adjusted gross income. The IRS reconciles this when you file your taxes. So if you earn more than expected, part of your subsidy is going to get clawed back. So you never want to claim more subsidy benefit than you're entitled to or than you are projected to be. It's not fun mail to be opening in April. Planning your income and retirement date carefully could save you from that headache. Now, it's a double bear trap. See, near your left foot is that COBRA coverage. If you take it to finish the year, be sure to get that ACA subsidized coverage locked in for January 1st during the open enrollment window. Otherwise, just dropping COBRA mid-year is not considered a qualifying event. Bear traps. You can see them. They're pretty big, and you can avoid them. But if you trip up, you'll be working to get out of them. Moving on to Social Security. Everyone's favorite game of should I or shouldn't I? Claiming early can feel comforting, but it's an expensive comfort. Taking it at 62 is going to lock in a smaller benefit for the rest of your life and may cut your spouse's survivor benefit as well. Those years before 65 are what I call the low income or low tax tide window. You can pull small amounts from your pre-tax accounts while in this lower bracket. You could do gentle Roth conversions and still keep your ACA income under control. It's about fine-tuning, not flooding. Now, where do people trip up? Turning on Social Security early raises your modified adjusted gross income and can knock down your subsidy. Big pre-tax withdrawals or surprise capital gains can do the same thing. If you sold a property or a mutual fund and forgot about that capital gain, congratulations, you just gave yourself an unplanned premium hike. Let's shift gears to the debt question. To pay it off or not to pay it off? Being debt-free feels amazing, but there's nuance here. Paying off a mortgage eliminates monthly payments and gives you a sense of peace. Your stress drops as your flexibility rises. But the flip side, You may lose liquidity right when you need it. Selling investments to pay off debt can trigger taxes or happen during a market dip. And let's bust this myth once and for all. Keeping a mortgage for the tax deduction doesn't make sense for most people. After the 2017 tax law changes, about 90% of households take the standard deduction. Even if you itemize, paying $1 in interest to save 22 cents in taxes is still losing 78 cents. That's not financial judo, that's just bad math. There is a middle road. If your rate is low, you can keep the mortgage but build a larger cash cushion. If your ACA plan is locked in and you've got cash to spare, accelerate payments strategically. Just don't let a payoff plan wreck your subsidy or force you into a big taxable event. All right, now let's talk about bridging the gap itself, your health coverage before Medicare. ACA market plans are usually the best bridge available. Bronze, silver, and gold options vary in premiums and deductibles, but most silver plans often hit the sweet spot if your income qualifies for cost-sharing reductions, not deductions, reductions. COBRA can work short-term for stability, but it's rarely going to be cheaper, as I mentioned before. And HSAs, well, keep contributing until you enroll in Medicare. After 65, those dollars become your tax refund for premiums and medical costs. And remember, if you're contributing and you know you're going to enroll in Medicare, you actually want to stop contributing 6 months prior to Medicare enrollment because Medicare does a 6-month look back. So 6 months prior to enrolling in Medicare, stop making those HSA contributions. Okay, so timing matters. Leaving work triggers a 60-day special enrollment window for the healthcare exchange. Miss it, and you're stuck waiting. If you retire late in the year, say December, consider pushing big taxable events into January of the following year. That simple move can keep your annual modified adjusted gross income subsidy-friendly. And I guess the other side of that planning strategy is maybe you eat those big taxable events in December if you know that you're going to start claiming that subsidy the following year. Okay, let's pull this together with what could very easily be a real-world example, but is 100% completely hypothetical. Let's meet Tom and Lisa, both 62. They've saved $1.2 million, and we'll say that $600,000 of that is pre-tax, $400,000 of that is Roth, and $200,000 of that is in a joint taxable account. They want $75,000 of income per year, which is a little under $6,500 per month if you're writing down these numbers. And that's to live on comfortably until Social Security kicks in at 67 for each of them. That's when they plan on turning it on. If they have to pay for healthcare, they'll need to pull an additional $24,000 each year prior to turning 65. So here's how we map it. $20,000 from the taxable account, $30,000 from the Roth account, and $37,000 from pre-tax. They want about $76,000 in total. With health insurance, they could be looking at $100,000 as their annual need. Now, what we're doing is we're creating $80,000 of gross income for them. But we're going to keep this modified adjusted gross income right in that ACA qualifying sweet spot. Are you wondering how? The $30,000 of Roth money is tax-free income. It doesn't even count toward adjusted gross income. It's like it's not even there. Then, of the $20,000 distributed from their joint investment account, let's assume there is $10,000 of long-term capital gains, meaning everything they sell from the account for income has been an investment they held for at least 12 months. That's long-term capital gain. Well, only the capital gain will count in their modified adjusted gross income, $10,000. So they pulled out 20, but only 10 counts as income. So far, we've covered $50,000 of income for them, but in their tax return, this is a reportable $10,000. Now we add in the traditional IRA distributions of $37,000, the least tax-efficient pot of money. Tom and Lisa have now taken out $87,000. Their total income keeps them in the 12% federal tax rate. Their tax return has gross income of $47,000. So maybe the AGI is right around here. I'm not a tax professional, so I'm not going to specifically say their adjusted gross income is $47,000, but it's going to be pretty close to that. But what about the taxable income? Now, wait, if you know about capital gains, you may wonder why we'd want to have them pay the 15% rate on those gains when they're in the 12% tax bracket. It's a legitimate consideration, and there's two ways to approach it. To start, only half the joint account distribution was taxable. We took out $20,000, but the gain was $10,000. So in effect, we halved their tax rate. Does that make sense? Blended over the whole distribution, if we said they were in the 15% long-term capital gains bracket, then they essentially paid 7.5% as the federal tax rate on that whole amount. But it gets better. As long as their taxable income stays below $96,700, that's the 2025 number, then their capital gains rate is 0%. So their AGI might be up around the gross amount. I'm not a tax pro again, so I'm not factoring in any deductions, which of course only improves this math. But their taxable income isn't any higher than the $37,000 distributed from the traditional IRA. Why take out $37,000? Well, 12% federal tax, 8% state tax in Oregon. And so, we're assuming Tom and Lisa are in Oregon. That's going to be $7,400 for taxes. With this income, their health insurance premium drops from $2,000 a month to about $400 a month. Their $75,000 income need plus $4,800 for health insurance is roughly $80,000 of total income need for the year when they are pre-65. That's going to cover all their expenses. Distributions totaling $87,000 is going to get us there. They even have a little room to do small Roth conversions if they wanted to, around $10,000 to $15,000 a year, to chip away at their RMDs, required minimum distributions, without upsetting their sizable ACA subsidy that they qualify for. It's a lot of numbers, I know. The short of it is, it's possible to generate a solid income, keep your taxes low, and qualify for healthcare subsidies if you plan your retirement accounts, specifically those tax buckets, correctly. Again, this is all about planning ahead, prior planning. So what could go wrong? Maybe a surprise mutual fund distribution in December that spikes income a little. Honestly, no individual mutual fund holder, no financial advisor really has control over what the mutual fund companies distribute at the end of the year. So there's the potential for that to spike income a little bit. Or selling their home and blowing past the exclusion limit. So for Tom and Lisa, if they sell their home, they might want to be thinking about how much capital gain they might be exposed to. Perhaps there's also an inherited account that triggers additional income. Even a big medical expense can cause trouble if it forces large withdrawals that can't come from that tax-free account. Now the fix? Plan it, spread it, or offset it. This stuff isn't magic, it's math. You see, I said big medical expense, and it of course has someone out there shouting, what about that HSA? I kept it simple, the three tax buckets: taxable as income, taxable as capital gains, and tax-free. The HSA, when used as medical reimbursement, is in that tax-free bucket. And don't even get me started on how an HSA could add another layer of flexibility for early retirees. Okay, let's get started on that. While you're still working and covered by a high deductible health plan, contributions to your HSA reduce your taxable income dollar for dollar. But here's where it gets clever. Dare I say, genius in retirement. If you've saved medical receipts from previous years, never reimbursed yourself for those previous medical receipts, just paid them out of pocket, you can reimburse yourself tax-free for those expenses anytime in the future, even decades down the road. Yes, even if you no longer have a high deductible health plan. Of course, you do have to have great receipt records to do this right, but then that reimbursement acts like a stealth income stream that doesn't raise your modified adjusted gross income, keeping your ACA subsidies intact while putting spendable tax-free cash back in your pocket, another tax-free source of income. In other words, your HSA can double as both a healthcare fund and a strategic income tool during those pre-Medicare years. Tom and Lisa, if we wanted to pull them back in, could leverage that along with or in lieu of some of their Roth distributions, enhancing their tax-free retirement income, potentially increasing their subsidy, and or reducing the need for taxable IRA distributions, which again, in turn, increases their ability to do more Roth conversions. By 65, Tom and Lisa have smaller pre-tax balances, a healthy Roth cushion, and glide right into Medicare without healthcare premium shock or tax stress. Do you want to be like Tom and Lisa? I know I certainly do. Let's take some action on this. Think of this next part like your retirement stretch routine. Simple, practical, designed to keep you from pulling something expensive. Start by pricing your healthcare. Go online to healthcare.gov or your state's exchange and test how your income affects your premiums. It's like finding your spice tolerance. Go a little too high and things get uncomfortable pretty fast. Next, get your buckets in order. Look at your pre-tax, Roth, or specifically tax-free, and taxable buckets or accounts. Figure out how each will carry its share of the load. Imagine a bucket brigade. Taxable and Roth buckets move first. They're quick and they're light, while your pre-tax stays in reserve until you're ready to refill and replenish. Finally, build your income roadmap. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be intentional. Blend taxable and Roth withdrawals early to keep your income smooth and subsidies intact. And if you're planning to pay off debt or turn on Social Security, check how that might ripple through your ACA plan. Sometimes a small delay in turning on something like the Social Security benefit can actually save you thousands of dollars. Retirement isn't a straight line. It's a winding road with a few potholes, maybe a toll booth or two, and maybe one guy still bragging about his mortgage deduction. He's wrong. But if you know where your money's coming from and how it affects your taxes, you'll coast into Medicare with fewer surprises and a lot more confidence. If this, my to date lengthiest episode, has helped, please feel free to subscribe and share it with someone who's close to retirement or even recently retired. You can find more episodes like Know These Social Security Strategies Before You Retire wherever you're listening. And remember, it's not about having the smartest financial advisor, the most money saved, or the highest probability of retirement success. The perfect retirement plan for you is the one you act on. It's disclosure time. This podcast is intended for educational purposes only, should not be used for any other purposes. The views depicted in this material should not be considered specific advice or recommendations for any individual, are not intended to be financial, tax, or legal advice, and are not representative of Tidepool Wealth Strategies or Subsidies Wealth Services, LLC. The opinions contained in this material are those of Phillip Smith and not a recommendation or solicitation to buy or sell investment products. This information is from sources believed to be reliable, but Subsidies Wealth Services, LLC cannot guarantee or represent that it is accurate or complete. For a comprehensive review of your personal situation, always consult with a financial, tax, or legal advisor. Neither Subsidies nor any of its representatives may give legal or tax advice. Our office address is 450 Country Club Road, Suite 350, Eugene, Oregon 97401. Securities offered through Subsidies Wealth Services, LLC, member FINRA, SIPC. Advisory service offered through Subsidies Investment Advisors, LLC, registered investment advisor. Subsidies under separate ownership from any other named entity.